It's the last day of the offsite. The meetings were productive, the energy was contagious, exactly what the team needed. The CEO pulls you aside to say, "Thank you, this was next level." And you smile because it felt that way to you too. You found the secret to delegating the logistics so you could focus on shaping your team's experience. You used Offsite. They handled the venues, the negotiations, the logistics, and together you created an experience that will move your business forward. Sound too good to be true? It's actually within reach, and it can even save you money. See how at leaderassistant.com/offsite.
Hi there, my name is Fiona Kelly, and my favourite leadership quote is, "A good leader inspires people to have confidence in the leader. A great leader inspires people to have confidence in themselves," and that is from Eleanor Roosevelt.
The Leader Assistant podcast exists to encourage and challenge assistants to become confident, game-changing leader assistants.
Hey friends, welcome to the Leader Assistant Podcast. It's your host, Jeremy Burrows, and this is episode 383. Of course, you can check out the show notes at leaderassistant.com/383. Today, I'm very excited to be speaking with Fiona Kelly. Fiona is the founder of Executive PA Forum, Ireland's only leadership and development platform for EAs, PAs, and business support professionals. Fiona, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Jeremy. It's such a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, and so you're in Ireland. What part of Ireland are you in?
I am in Dublin at the moment. I'm from a town called Carlow, which is about an hour south of Dublin. And we have a lovely open space office here. So it's lovely to drop in and out when I can. I'm on the road a lot, out and about a lot. It's great to be in the office today and chatting to you.
Awesome. What's your favorite thing to do when you're not working?
Oh, I love Zumba.
Zumba. That's like one of those exercise things, right?
It is. It's my favorite exercise to do. I don't really like going to the gym except for the classes. I love those kind of, high energy activity classes with lots of music. And I love walking and tennis and TV and, all those kind of things when I'm not working on my business, and just spend a lot of time with friends and family other than that.
That's great. Tell us a little bit about your career, your experience, your background, and then, fast forward to today with, what you're doing now and how you got here.
Sure. So I did a degree in business and law at University College Dublin. And I actually did the degree thinking that I would go down the legal route. But while I was studying, I realized, this is a lot. There's a lot of studying, continuous learning, and all of that. So I kind of veered more towards the business end of things. And once I graduated, I just thought, okay, I'll just get a job. I'll just take any job just to get started. And I actually started my career in recruitment. And that gave me a great grounding in sales and managing my own desk and obviously communicating with people and networking and everything like that. So I loved that side of it, and I really loved business. But there was always kind of a niggle at me because I did have a lot of events when I was when I was studying in UCD. I was, member of a few different societies and sports clubs. So I always kind of had this niggle about getting into events. And when I went traveling to Sydney, I did a couple of years in recruitment, and then I went traveling to Sydney, and I worked there for almost 2 years. And I had the opportunity to work in recruitment there, but I got offered a job in a conference production company. So that was going to be, putting conferences together across a range of different topics, like what I had studied in my degree, management accounting, blended learning in HR, And so one of the conferences that we did there was for executive assistants. And so I just, I got to actually learn about the role as I was doing those conferences. And I didn't quite work so much on the event management side of the events at that time, but it was always something that I kind of wanted to explore further when I got back to Ireland. So when I did come back from Sydney, I ended up setting up my own events business, and I started working on client events like fundraisers and conferences and workshops and things like that. But at the same time, I also founded the first executive PA conference in Ireland. And there was nothing like it. There'd been a couple of events, that had run up until that point. This was back in 2010. But there was nothing else. And so we got a great response when we started. I say we now. I have to introduce my sister Aisling, who I work with in the business, who founded Executive PA Forum with me all those years ago. She was just coming out of college and had studied HR and business as well. So it was a nice, it was good timing and everything like that. And over the years, I suppose what happened was it just evolved. The executive PA training just evolved. We started working with other trainers in the UK and the US. And it actually got to the stage where I let go of my event clients and I started just focusing on the executive PA training and courses. So that's how Executive PA Forum came about and was born. And so now we have our platform for members there, and the Executive PA Summit is our annual flagship conference that we have. It's 2 days a year, and everyone always says, "Oh, could you do another one in 6 months?" And I'm like, "Oh,
it's too much work
to put one all together." And if I knew that I'd get, that 100 people would sign up straight away, I'd be like, yeah, let's do it. But it's just that thing, yourself with the role, how demanding it is to try and get days out of the office and all the rest of it is tough. So that's kind of what actually led me to starting the Executive PA Forum. And it was really interesting. Just before COVID, myself and Aisling did a branding course with a branding expert here in Dublin, and she was talking it was a phenomenal course that we did, because we really got to step back and look at the business and look at how we promoted and advertised what we did, and got our messaging across. And we realized, she said, you need a brand story, and so I was like, well, this is the story, and she was like, dig deeper. And myself and Aisling had this moment one day where we're like, our dad was a school principal, a teacher, and our mum was a secretary. So I was like, oh my goodness, education, runs
in the family.
This didn't just happen by accident, that we just have such I suppose it's like that we have such a kind of a rapport with our network, and naturally, it's mostly women, as you know, but it was just very interesting when we had that kind of light bulb moment of this explains everything. Why we have such an affinity with this group and this profession. Anyway, wow. So that's basically where we are today.
Awesome. So how has the profession changed since you started? I think you said your first summit was in 2010. Is that right?
That's right. Yeah.
So it's been several years now. So, what are the changes that you've seen in the industry?
I know I've got the wrinkles to show for it. It's over 15 years now, which is so hard to believe. But I suppose a lot of the change is coming from the demands that are being placed on the role, on the people in the profession. It's obviously, it goes without saying, AI has just taken over every conversation now, nearly. And what I love to see is where there's extra responsibility and there's a lot more strategic collaboration happening with the people in our network and their execs, the people that they support. It has gone like not that I mean there was a limited number of EAs who I remember, inviting to speak at the conference, or who I was networking with at the time, who were at a higher level, who sat at the leadership table, who, like they were involved, they were really involved, but they were definitely in the minority. Whereas now that is flipped, and I think the expectations on the role is that the majority should be in at that position, where they're have that voice at the table and will make suggestions and will represent their execs when they're not there, and can start making decisions for them. And I actually don't know enough about, I see a lot about the chief of staff versus EA debate online, and I kind of stay away from it, because I do think it's different. And I think every single company, whatever the job title is, it is like it's a different job nearly in every company. Every company has their own structure and policy and the way that the role is positioned. And every EA has a different career path. But I think that's the biggest change that I've seen, is that there is a requirement for the EAs to step up and to give more than maybe what was traditionally more transactional kind of work and processing and administration. So yeah, that's I think, I mean, I'm sure you've seen it too. But yeah, those I think are the main changes that I've seen.
I totally agree. And I have been I've been an assistant for about 20 years and been doing the training for about 10 years. And yeah, I agree 100% that a lot of the shifts in the requirements are, hey, we need you to be more of a business partner. We need you to be more strategic and manage. The way I would say it is, my executive wants me to manage his energy
Yeah, okay.
more so than his time in a lot of ways, because there's a lot of technology and AI and automation and tools that are really good at managing time, but they don't understand the energy management side as well. And so
Yeah.
that's how I've seen it changes in my experience too. So
Absolutely, because there's a huge expectation on the leader to always be on and to always have that kind of energy and to be showing, strength and direction and everything like that. So they don't want their headspace being clogged up. And we actually recently hired a VA to do like 10, 15 hours a month for us. And just the difference already
hmm
is, it's incredible. Like, and just to think, oh, I can give this to somebody to help me with. Oh, amazing. And it does, it kind of frees up your time to then, it's almost like making space for other opportunities, or, having more time to spot other opportunities and come up with ideas instead of being stuck in the weeds, if you like. So hopefully by the next time I'm talking to you, Jeremy, we'll have someone full time. But at the moment, it's a kind of like for the first time in how many years that we have someone who's supporting us. So it's
wow.
brilliant.
So, okay, you mentioned your sister is in business with you, your co-founder, is that right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I have a sister, I have two brothers, and, it can be fun working with them. It also can be annoying working with them. So tell us about the joys and pains of running a business with your sister.
Yeah, so like I think overall it's a really positive experience. And sometimes when I think about it, and I think about us not working together, I just go, I don't know if it would be the same experience for me, because we both know everybody. We both know everyone, we know everyone in the network, we know their about their families, we know about their roles, and we'll always kind of like we've made so many friends. And it's just really nice then that I can kind of share that experience with my sister as well. Like
hmm
generally we'll get on a call if we've got to talk about something, and we'll be like, okay, we have half an hour. And then like for the first 10 minutes, we'll be talking about something to do with our family, or, just personal life or whatever, which is fine. I mean, that can happen with any colleague. But then we're like, okay, now we better get through this, what we're, what we're here to
hmm
do. But it's so lovely to have those experiences, like, and at times where I don't tend to kind of panic or stress around events. Like, obviously there's things that can go wrong and you have to think on your feet a lot. But during those times where like the pressure is on, it's really nice to have someone who knows you so well. And, we both know each other so well to kind of go, like, she's really good at going, calm now. Okay, let's think about this. What do we need? Like, this is not something to worry about. And likewise, with her, I'll be kind of like, okay, no, no, I definitely know that this is the right thing to do here. If she's kind of pushing back on something, and like naturally, it's very rare. I'm not just saying it. Naturally, we will like clash or kind of like during those times of pressure just be like, oh, or like, if I have to call her by her full name, she's like, oh, I felt like I'm in trouble or something. But like,
funny.
but what's really nice is we've just kind of learned that really nice way of working together. And she has her strengths and I have mine, and they don't clash. And I think that's actually why it works so well. But overall, yeah, it's just really nice. It would be, I don't even know what the experience would be if I wasn't working with her throughout it. And I suppose what I love about it too is it has just evolved that way, almost like the network that we have has evolved that way too.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, so speaking of sister, you have a sister business, uh,
Yeah.
Miss Jones Ireland, that also supports the profession. What is? Tell us a little bit about that.
That's right. So I guess what prompted us to start Miss Jones in Ireland was over COVID again, like we were dealing with lots of different government agencies here that were kind of supporting us to pivot and to look at what else we can do. Like everything that we did went online, any training and courses, our annual event. And, yourself, it was like a really difficult time. And so we said, okay, well, let's look at what else we can do. And because, as I said earlier, I have a background in events and event management. We had always been hosting events, networking events, and, fam trips and things like that with our network. And we were introducing them to a lot of venues and suppliers. At our annual conference, we would have had exhibitors and sponsors involved with that as well. So we said, oh, why don't we create a directory? Let's start there. Let's try and get some support. There was a lot of kind of web development support that the agencies were giving out at the time. And so we went about starting our own directory. And, like you almost need to have a degree in IT to to understand the back end of things and, everything like that. And so it was just very serendipitous. At the same time, I was invited onto a UK and Ireland PA Network Leaders call. And there was a girl, Lisa Bozell, who was on that call as well, who is the founder of Miss Jones in the UK, Miss Jones Group. And I heard her speaking. She has an Irish accent. I thought, oh my goodness, how do I not know this girl already? So I reached out to her and I was like, let's grab a coffee. And we were both living in London at the same time, because I'm over and back to London, which we'll get on to as well for a chat. So we literally went for a coffee and a walk. And by the end of that, I said to her, look, we'd love to partner with you. We have the network, we have the connections. We're doing this already, and you've got the directory set up and the systems and the processes and everything like that. And her being Irish was like, I always wanted to start Miss Jones in Ireland. So I was like, look, it seems like the perfect thing to do. And so we've done that. And so that was 3 years ago, and we haven't really looked back since. It's great to also just to explain, I suppose, if anyone who hasn't heard of Miss Jones, it's a venue finding concierge. So venue finding suppliers, and it just made total sense for us, because also when we had external clients while we were growing the Executive PA Forum, it was very labor intensive. It took up a lot of time managing events for clients. Whereas with Miss Jones, we're at the beginning stage. We're like, help you book a venue, and then, it's over to you or your teams or whatever it is. So we're at the beginning stage of booking venues and suppliers. And so we're not managing the events then. Now, some clients will come to us and they'll ask us to do that. And naturally, if we have capacity and we've got that experience, we'll do that. We'll help them with that. But that's kind of how it has grown and grown. And we host events and fam trips, and we just can continue doing all those things that keeps the network tight and keeps the network meeting up as well. And giving them the opportunity to talk about their challenges, talk about their wins, share contacts, share their knowledge and tools and, things that they're doing. So it's kind of, it's great to have that sister business and to tell people about it while I'm also talking to them about the training and the courses that we do as well.
Nice. That's great. Yeah. So, okay, let's go back to the events for a second. I have a couple questions about your forum and that you've put on for 15 or so years.
Yeah.
Tell us about your process for bringing in speakers and trainers and collaborating. Like, I'm sure, running this event for a long time, and it's your quote unquote baby, if you will. You want to protect the brand. You want to make sure that you bring in top-notch training. You want to make sure that the trainers understand the assistant, job and role and career. So yeah, just walk us through a little bit about that process.
Sure. So I would host a number of webinars throughout the year. Sometimes it's to help promote a course. Sometimes it's just, I've made a connection with somebody that I think our network would really like to hear their thinking and the knowledge that they have to share. So while I am getting people to sign, inviting people to sign up for those events and webinars, I will ask, what are the challenges that you're facing in your role? And so then after that, I'll kind of assess, I'll look at the last 6 to 9 months of what the challenges are. And it's funny because every time I go to, put together the program for the Executive PA Summit every year, people will say, what's your theme? And I'm like, I don't really have one, because I think sometimes if you pick a theme, it's you get stuck on that and it can just narrow everything down. So I always just say the theme evolves as depending on what is current. And so I will review all the responses that I've gotten for the webinars, and I tend to then categorize them, So say for this Executive PA Summit coming up, there was like strategic career positioning, challenges managing relationships, uncertainty in the role. So there was like 5 or 6 different themes that kept coming up. So once I know that, I'll start putting the feelers out, and it's almost, again, it's one of those serendipitous things that sometimes happens. I'll just start connecting with people, or I'll start seeing more of that particular topic or subject area, and I'll just end up meeting the right people. Now, sometimes, it works out, sometimes it doesn't. But for the most part, that's my process. And I suppose when I am assessing somebody, I wouldn't just kind of hop on a call for 10 minutes and go, oh, you'll do. I'll look at their LinkedIn profile, I'll see what their career is, I'll see if I can find any videos of them online, or if they have experience of speaking before, and just, what I mean, just to kind of assess that level of confidence that they have as well. And I suppose a bonus, big part of it is that if they've been an EA or they're currently an EA, they just get the role, and they'll know what the person sitting in the seat in the audience is going through, dealing with. And, they can just speak to them at that better level. I've had other speakers and trainers throughout the years who maybe don't, have that experience in their role. And even though they would add great value and everything, there'd just be that little bit missing, that I would find. So where possible, I do try and seek that out. And I think all the speakers I have so far this year are former EAs. So nice. I'm really quite happy about that. Workshops are a different thing as well. On our workshop day, it's a bit of a different thing because it's a bit more intense, and there's not enough in Ireland. It's quite a small market. Obviously, we are Ireland's only L&D platform that hosts an event, a training event like this. So sometimes I do have to look outside of the pool because, it's just not big enough here
Hmm.
as well. So, but for the most part, I just think it adds that extra layer to the conference that we have, and to what people actually learn, and the learning outcomes that they have.
Nice. Awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing. So another event question I had is, on the experience side. So people have showed up, they've registered, you've got the speakers lined up, you've got the schedule, you've done all the logistics, but when you're actually sitting in the room and you're actually going from one session to the next and you're going to lunch and you're going to the break and all that, what's your number one tip for people that are planning events for their companies or organizations when it comes to experience, like what makes the experience of being in that event, being in that on-site unique or different or memorable, however you do it? What do you think through when you're planning these events when it comes to how the attendee experiences it?
Yeah, I think something that I've learned a lot over the years is, especially with the speakers, because like you're sitting in the room for like, 6, 7 hours, you have a break for lunch and you have your tea and coffee breaks and things like that. But for the most part, you're kind of sitting there. So I would always encourage, have the audience interaction, like ask them questions, get them thinking and reflecting about their roles, as opposed to just sitting there and taking in lots of content, because that's kind of what it's all about, especially in this role. It might be the one chance that people are attending actually get to sit back and think about their role in that time, because usually they're like firefighting and dealing with other people's problems and trying to solve other people's problems. So it's like it's that's one thing that I would encourage, is the audience interaction and movement as well. If it's not for the sake of it, if it's relevant to the piece and to the topic, have a bit of movement. Like I have one lady this year who is talking about playfulness in your role, and how it shows, like neuroscience is showing that playfulness in your role and in your interactions with your colleagues and everything like that, it actually helps creativity, and it helps with problem solving, and it helps with team bonding. And because, just like a bit of a side note, she actually was L&D manager in Google, and she found that the more she was climbing the ranks, the more serious people became, even people that were reporting to her. So, she's just saying, like, it's an overall, like, to feel good in your role and everything like that. That's just kind of one example. So I know spoiler alert, well, won't be spoiler alert by the time this is going out, probably past, but she is going to come on stage dancing, like at the
Nice.
start, making a fool of herself and getting everyone kind of relaxed and playful, and like just kind of setting the tone for the day. So I just love, yeah, I love those kind of unique opportunities, and that's one thing I would say. And then have enough help, have enough hands to help with, and be very clear with who's responsible for what, and make sure that they know what they need to do when they need to do it.
Right.
That's another, like, there's so many things. I could have a whole other podcast with you about events,
Totally.
Jeremy.
Totally. We'll do a part two
I
someday.
don't do part two for sure.
Awesome. Well, kind of to wrap things up, I appreciate your time. Thanks again for being on the show. But you mentioned something, when I have guests come on, I ask them what they would like to talk about. And you mentioned something about another career that has grown alongside the the Executive PA Forum. And speaking of playfulness, leaning into creativity and playfulness, whatever your role is. So tell us a little bit about that.
So when I was in Sydney, I decided to just, I was in a new city, and I decided, just a way to make friends, that I would do some drama classes. And I really enjoyed that. And so when I got back to Ireland, I actually trained as an actress while had set up my business as well. And so that is, I guess that career has evolved, not as rapidly now as the Executive PA Forum, because you do need to really nurture that as well. But
Hmm.
I've done lots of plays, lots of theatre touring, and I've also started writing the last few years. Again, kind of COVID pushed me into writing more, so I've done a lot of screenwriting. And I suppose when I'm writing, I don't care if it never goes anywhere, if no one ever picks it up or sees it. I just enjoy it so much when I am doing it, and I kind of entertain myself
Yeah.
when I'm writing. So I love that side of it. And then, obviously, I have an agent in London, and I go for auditions anytime that he calls me, or a lot of it is self-tapes now, so I can fit it in between my business work as well, which is great. And yeah, so that's why I always love that idea of bringing creativeness into your role, whatever way it is, because I just think it's so important. I think when we're in school, there's such a focus on academics, well, in Ireland anyway, and I just love to see more emphasis on sport and art and creativity as well. So that is my other. So that's kind of that's part 3 episode, Jeremy, where we talk about my acting and writing career and my experiences there. But the funny thing is, they're all linked. They're all kind of like events. You're putting on a show. There's a performance. There's a point. Like the speakers are up on a stage. It's very similar to, okay, you don't get to rehearse a conference, but you'd like to think that the speakers will rehearse what they're going to talk about.
Right.
It's kind of the same when you're on stage and theatre. You're performing to an audience, and you just want to give them something where they feel something and where they feel good coming out of it and have learned something. So it's all a bit linked.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Great, Fiona. Well, keep up the good work, and I really hope to make it to Dublin. And Ireland's on my bucket list. I actually have a cousin in Ireland, but I'm part Irish. I don't know how much, but I know last name Burrows, and I did some research and have cousins. So I know there's some Irish in me.
Well, you'll have to come and find them for sure.
Exactly.
More than welcome at our Executive PA Summit, Jeremy.
Yeah, I would love to. So thanks again for being on the show. Where's the best place? I'll put all the links and everything in your bio and all that in the show notes at leaderassistant.com/383. But if there's one place that you're like, hey, you want to find out more, where should they go? ExecutivePAforum.com. Perfect.
And you can also find me on LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn. You'll find me there too.
Awesome. All righty. Well, thanks again. We'll talk soon, and be on the lookout, listeners, for part 2 and 3 someday.
Thanks so much, Jeremy.
Please review on Apple Podcasts. GoBulls.com.
The Leader Assistant Academy is an AI-powered, on-demand professional development resource. It's for growth-minded executive assistants and administrative professionals just like you. When you enroll in the Academy, you get access to the Leader Assistant course plus streaming access to the audiobook. The course includes video lessons for each chapter of the Leader Assistant book, as well as the entirety of the Leader Assistant workbook, study, and discussion guide. Additionally, you get access to my exclusive Academy newsletter where I share thoughts on the state of the administrative profession, behind the scenes of my business, and sneak peeks at upcoming projects. Your enrollment also includes a one-on-one 25-minute coaching session with yours truly. But my favorite part of the Academy is the AI agent, which I've named ACE. ACE is the only AI agent on Earth trained on the Leader Assistant book, workbook, course, and Academy newsletter. So if you need guidance at 2 a.m. on a Thursday because you have a big meeting coming up with your executive and you want to ask for help, you can log on to the Academy, interact with ACE, and this AI agent will help you along your journey, guiding you to specific resources that are actually helpful in that moment. To find out more and enroll in the Leader Assistant Academy, visit leaderassistant.com/academy.